Maranatha, my PVC family and friends. Pastor Brian here with another quick bite, living the word. Today we're going to come from the book of Ephesians, and we're going to take a look at quite a few verses here in Ephesians together, chapter 4 in particular, if you want to turn there. But what's upon my heart this morning is I want to start at how this chapter ends and then go backwards from there if you'll allow me to do so. So this chapter ends with Paul saying these words to us, right? He says this. Pick up verse 31 and 32. He says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking put away from you with all malice. Be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you." What a great instruction here, right? We should be forgiving people. We should be tender-hearted, kind people. He says that we should put away all bitterness and wrath, which is where that anger comes from, is getting bitter over our circumstances or what we perceive to be the circumstances or what we perceive to be our wrongs or how people may be wronging us, right? Speaking evil, put it away from you. All malice, put it away from you, right? Be tender-hearted and forgiving as Christ has forgiven you. Now, what's interesting about this is oftentimes in our lives, we're able to do this with those that are without. But how often do we do those that are within? Now, I'm not just talking about those without the church. That's a great application. And we're oftentimes very kind to those within. But what about those even within our own homes? Right? Oftentimes we think we behave like we're allowed to somehow be a little more angry at people in our own home. Treat people in our own home like they are wrong or like that they deserve our wrath, our bitterness, our anger, or our malice, instead of being tender-hearted, kind, and forgiving, as we're supposed to be. And if you back up some now, I want you to look at this, right? Where does part of this come from? Where does this bitterness, this wrath, this anger, this malice oftentimes come from? Well, verse 29 says these words to us. "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good for the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers." Well, ultimately, it comes from how we talk to one another. Right? That's oftentimes where that comes from. How are we speaking to one another? How am I talking to you? How am I talking to my wife? How am I talking to my kids? That's where it's coming from. Am I being that person who is, as it says there, using edifying words? That's which is good, and imparting grace to the hearer. Even within my own home, am I doing that? Right? And so I think we think about those things. We go, okay, well, that's kind of making sense, right? But back up even further now, if you would, with me, right? Remember that we're the new man, okay? But he says these words, right? He says this, picking up now, if you would, with me at verse 20 now. It says, "But ye have not so learned Christ, if so be ye have heard him and have been taught by him, as truth is in Jesus." And when you read through the scriptures, right, and you look at Jesus and how he treated people, he rarely treats people. The people who need to be forgiven, who have messed up, whatever the case may be, he's kind with them. Those who have repented, those who are asked, for things, he's kind to them. He's tender with them. He's loving and nurturing to them. He doesn't sit there and berate them or, well, you should have, and can't believe you said, or whatever the case may be. Now, why it's on my heart, I got to be honest with you guys, is yesterday morning, Miss Chandra and I had one of those high volume, low value discussions yesterday morning for no good reason. And I'm not even going to get into the reason because it was so ridiculous that it's beyond comprehension, right? But ultimately, what happened is both of us allowed the evil speaking, our communication, our corrupt communication to come out of our mouths, and then each one of us got bitter and got angry, and so then we weren't kind, tenderhearted, and forgiving. So if you've got somebody in your situation or in your life like that, whether it be somebody in your own home, whether it be a coworker, whether it be somebody at the church, whether it be a family member, whatever the case may be, maybe look at those things and recognize, hey, you know what? Just because they give corrupt communication doesn't give me the opportunity or the right to respond the way I did either. So I hope this encourages you guys today. As always, remember that I love you, we love you, God loves you, and God's got this.